Footside Universal Entry AB54493649910. Browse Universal Systems Key Code. President Eleron. Headline Epilogue. Retrieved from Universal Records Office.
Everything was sorted, or at least as sorted as anything ever is in an infinite universe that keeps changing, growing and evolving. Calixta had been placed behind a Mechion force field that existed across most of the planet, but it showed no signs of wanting to fight it, or leave Decreeta.
Oops,
said Horace when they asked about it.
Oh, just saved us a week of anxiety when I put it around our planets days ago. Sorry, boss.
Calixta had become a model citizen, in fact, and had enjoyed having 10 new planets to learn about, teasing out knowledge from as many of us as she could about how our planets worked, and adopting her own ideas that she planned to pass on to any of the Hive who wanted them.
I know that I can never get back home,
she said.
That doesn't mean I can't be remembered in exile as a far greater ruler than I ever was before I met you.
To our mutual amazement, Calixta also found out that Argybrass were the only thing that our sides of the universe seemed to have in common, something which backed up some of the things I'd been reading on the Universal about it before time, when a common ancestor of all our species had brought Argybrass across the stars. Calixta showed a rare gentler side we weren't expecting, looking after the few stray Argybrass we had on Decreeta.
They're a reminder of home,
she told us, though hers all seemed far advanced of ours. At first we thought she was going to eat them and kept an eye on the former ruler, but no, all her fight seemed to have genuinely deserted her. She didn't need to fight anymore, though she wasn't scared. She also asked Geraldine very sweetly if she wouldn't mind bringing back some Earth music with her the next time she visited.
More of that Chuck Berry, like the one on your spaceship would be nice,
she said, before pulling her face.
I wasn't so keen on everything else though. I'm sure the classical stuff was grounds for war.
She actually made a joke. Calixta, most feared alien of our times. You don't actually need Geraldine to bring you any, I said. I have lots of Earth music myself, including lots of Chuck Berry. It would be my honour to show you. So it was that I spent several enjoyable lunchtimes off from work with Calixta, explaining to her the joys of rock and roll, the concept of socking it to the man, a universal concept if ever there was one I discovered, even if the definition of man had to be altered to any alien on your homeworld in a position of power gained unfairly, as well as the definition of playing guitar, ringing and bell. Before long, Calixta had devoured all of Chuck's releases and then carried on to all sorts of other musicians, mostly taken from the Earth website and its album archives. Noted the most extensive and detailed purveyor of source-based philosophical debatement and discussion confined to the source of one particular planet, even if it does go on a bit, on Camelosia. If Calixta presented a problem more easily solved than any of us were expecting, then that wasn't the same for the Hive. We were still a little nervous of sending their shuttle home, but we could hardly prevent them going. That would be like colonising them all over again. Thankfully, they rather solved the problem by coming to me one day.
Eleron, we have a favour to ask,
said Bosch.
A really big favour,
chimed in Gosh.
We know we don't deserve it, but if you could see your way to forgiveness, that would be truly spiffing, old bean,
said Posh.
Do you think we could stay here on Decreeta?
Asked Wash.
We never wanted to be warriors, and there is nothing back home for us anymore,
explained Kosh.
It's just that with our queen so much bigger than us, we had to do what she told us to,
explained Nosh.
We never knew anything about democracy, and it sounds like fun,
said Dosh.
We'd really like to try it,
said Wash.
Straight up, no messing,
said Tosh.
No, indeed. We're not joking either.
agreed Josh. They turned out to be highly valuable assets, helping to repair and clean Decreeta even more thoroughly than the humans, and we had plans eventually to let them help us clean up Earth and Mars too, and perhaps let them have their own planet with their own representative at the IPO. Most of my crew had gone to their respective planets via the shuttles that had stayed behind, following a ginormous farewell party, during which we had eaten most of JJJJ's provisions. Eglo had gone back to Mars. I missed her horribly, and spent many a long night wondering about asking her back. Some nights as I crawled into bed late, I would notice the missing half of a room that had once belonged to her, and I would cry my eyes out. Somehow, though, I knew that this was the right call, for both of us. Besides, there was so much to do, and so much work to throw myself into. Mostly, though, I looked into the mirror on the wall, without flinching, for the first time, looking straight in the eyes of the figure who stared straight back at me. There was no need to hide any more, or pretend to be someone I wasn't. My boundaries were set. I knew what I was capable of. I knew that I had earned the right to be here now. At last, I knew who I was. One of the last people apart from the IPO to go home was Geraldine, who was visibly struggling with what to do for the best. "Eleron," she said, calling on my office one morning, "the last Earth shuttle is preparing to leave. I just needed to know what you'll do now." "Well," I smiled at her, "what I was doing before, I suppose, just on my own now. And with all the additional security we have in Decreeta, now the Agrosians are here." "That's not quite what I meant," she smiled, "as you well know." "Geraldine," I say, putting my wing in her hand, "I don't know where to begin to thank you for everything you've done for me. You believed in me when nobody else did, including myself. I still can't believe that you ran away with me, risking your life to save everyone, when beings with more experience and responsibility ran away. I truly don't know how the universe can ever repay you, how I can ever repay you." "I know one way," she said, brushing my cheek, but stopped when she saw my face. "But that's not what you want, is it?" "I'm sorry. It is what I want, but not this soon. Now that I have found myself again, I need some time alone to get to know myself better. How on Mars do you cope with all those human emotions when your lifespans are so blinking short?" Geraldine smiles. "It's not easy, but maybe that's why humans are known as the universe's risk takers, because life is too short to do anything else. Remember, you're the intergalactic president, Eleron. You're the leader of a free universe. You can do anything you want." "Maybe," I smile, "but this is scarier still than fighting aliens." "I'm sorry, Geraldine. At the moment I'm terrified of hurting someone else I love badly." "I'm terrified too, Eleron. The difference is that I'm less terrified when I'm with you." Geraldine smiled back. "I'm sorry, you're being perfectly nice and giving me really good reasons, and I knew you'd say all this, but I had to risk asking you. I hope you understand." I smiled back. "I more than understand. I want this every bit as much as you do, Geraldine. Maybe one day, hopefully soon, you'll be back on Decreeta, and things won't be quite the shock they are now, and we can talk about old times." Geraldine's smile grew bigger. "I like that. Oh, and if you find someone nice on Earth, I'll go back to who you were with," I added. "Don't wait. Just send me an invite to the wedding party. I'll even arrange Doozy's catering for you. Same if you end up as Earth's new Prime Minister, as you have every right to be." "There won't be a wedding," laughed Geraldine. "I can tell you that now. I find humans far too human. A half-human sounds perfect. Just the right mix of the exotic and what I'm used to. As to being Prime Minister, I've seen from you that being in charge is too hard work for me. Goodbye, Eleron. Thank you for everything." "No, thank you," I said, hugging her tight. "A whole human sounds pretty wonderful too. I'm sorry if that wasn't what you wanted to hear. I desperately want to say yes, but I've learnt to keep my boundaries and do what's right for me." Imagine that, I'm such a people pleaser. "Then I bid you farewell," said Geraldine. "For now, at least." "Goodbye, Geraldine. You were terrific in every way a being can be. I'll be in touch." "You better be," she sniffled. "We even have the Universal on Earth now after Doris's replacements, sold the Brexit buses and paid for it to be installed." She left and I stared out the window, watching her shuttle fly off, getting smaller and smaller in the Decretan sky, wondering for the zillionth time if I'd just done the right thing.
Universal entry AB544938294756483. Branch Universal Systems Key Code, President Eleron. Headline Mrasianbrat, retrieved from Universal Records, Office.
One indirect result of the battle was that the Earth rejoined the IPO, which alongside the pending submission of the Agrosian hive meant that we were up to 11 planets now from our 9. Doris had never been quite the same since Queen Calixta had invaded her homeworld and was something of a gibbering wreck now, preferring to sit on the floor making cardboard buses out of wine crates and telling everyone that she was busy researching a very important biography about past prime ministers who were almost as bonkers as she had been, if not quite as useless. Thankfully the Earth now had a very kind and benevolent ruler who was only too eager to rejoin the IPO and work with me and the other planets. One of the minor problems we had was what to do with the statue. Though it hadn't, in the end, been the deciding moment of our battle, it proved to be the easiest to use as a focal point for what had happened to us, and many of the photographs of it taken by those who had been on Decreeta had been posted on the Universal and become big news. Before long the statue even had its own Twitter feed on Earth. A Dougla Hooklan Metcan Grumpfab Mrasianbrat had its own free Facebook page on Helisphere.
The Belobrat statue with bits of other planets stuck in that saved Helisphere, and a few others.
I came up with the idea that the statue should stay as a sort of memorial to peace that any of the 10 planets could come and visit. I wanted to encourage travel between us after all. I also arranged for money to be taken out of our supposed war budget so that smaller commemorative statues would be built for each of our planets out of the same local materials as a relevant part of a real statue, remembering the roles played by each of us to go alongside the human Clandesprod ones of Endurance and the human Mrasianart ones of Insurgents. I remembered an idea Auntie C had once given me about travelling around the universe, visiting each of the planets to take a holographic photograph in front of each of them. How I longed for others to do the same now that they all had a representative part of each statue that celebrated their own culture.
Do you think that Bob deserves his own commemorative statue on Helisphere?
Asked Horace.
I mean, he did try to sell us out. He was secretly behind me trying to get rid of you, but without him, you and I wouldn't have got our jobs at all.
Good job he did, I smiled. Or I might not have been so angry I walked out and tried to save Earth on my own single-handed. No, he played his part, along with everybody else. He was only doing what came natural to a Belobrat. They're not used to being second banana in the intergalactic stakes. I think it came as quite a shock to him, even if it was his idea. Horace sighed.
Such a waste. Oh, amazingly, I think he and one unknown Earthling were the only 2 people who lost their lives in this whole mess. It could have been so much worse.
It very nearly was, I said. But it wasn't. Maybe somebody beyond our universe is trying to protect us, after all. Maybe there is a grand plan that's trying to nudge us all over to peace, so that our actions aren't really completely random. As for that human, we shall find out who he or she was, and add their name to the statue. Horace laughed.
Never the overthinking idealist, Eleron. I think it's more likely that we just about got away with it through random luck.
And a bit of hope, maybe, I said. Or faith. Horace laughed even harder.
No, don't say that to the Belobrats. Whatever you do, you know we don't have room for any great person to believe in beyond themselves.
He lay back in his chair until I thought he was asleep, and eventually he murmured to me,
I rather approve of the new ambassador, though.
Yes, I said approvingly. Balthazar is a perfect candidate. I'm so glad we encouraged him to come out of retirement for us.
You know, Eleron, we still have quite a lot of money left over from cancelling the Belobrat bribe money. No debaters had a look at the finances and says it's far too complicated sending it all back to each of the planets. What do you think we should do with it?
I sit up and smile. Oh, that's easy. As well as the statue, we can have an Intergalactic Peace Museum, full of all the trinkets we saved from our trip, all the souvenirs that weren't eaten, and the sort of weapons the 10 planets gave to others along the way, or to us. We should keep them all together and label them so future generations can remember the day we all worked together. Maybe a peace library to go with it, with copies of documents from all of our planets, so that anyone is free to visit and read, or take their own copies. It could be the first place where all of that great culture and knowledge that has saved us is all in one place. If nothing else, it would be handy if the Universal ever goes down again, which it seems to be doing a lot nowadays with that ruddy great Agrosian space shuttle in the way. Also, there's still a lot of the universe that we don't know much about yet. If this sort of thing ever happens again, we may not have a Universal, and if we do, there might not be a delay on it, so we really need to have one place that our future selves can use as a resource if they ever need it. We can build our museum next to the statue.
I approve of all of that,
Said Horace.
Maybe a foosball court too, so that beings from all around the universe can come and play on it. It's the universe's most popular sport after all.
All right, I said, laughing, as long as it doesn't take all the money. I'll even give you a game sometime, so I can see if it really is more important than life and death. After you've helped me rebuild everything.
Oh, undoubtedly, Eleron,
Grinned Horace.
I hope you're not in a hurry to have them built though. I've had a check of the rules, and all that time tied up as a prisoner technically counts as time at work, so I've a lot of holiday overdue and I'd like to book off, straight away if you don't mind.
I laughed. I was beginning to quite like Horace now that I'd been to Habridas and understood him better. Well, I sensed he was beginning to understand me too. Just then Cornelius walked in, looking all serious.
I'm aware, he said, that there has been an official complaint made against one of the IPO.
What?
Said Horace.
By who? And against whom? Not that Agrosian ruler, is it?
No, said Cornelius, it's against the first party known as Eleron.
Horace and I looked at each other in surprise.
Apparently he threw a marshmallow at a Deezy's dignitary's head a few days ago. The official IPO complaints procedure has been started. I'm head of the investigation.
Oh dear, I said, turning red. I'd completely forgotten about that.
Eleron?
Horace hooted with laughter the way only a Habridat can.
I didn't know you had it in you. Oh, that's the greatest practical joke I've ever heard.
I laughed too.
Well, this is a serious matter, explained the Cabalosian. It could result in a court-martial.
Eleron just saved the universe,
said Horace.
I think we could excuse him by having a bit of a marshmallow hurling stricken through the record.
It is most irregular. You'll make such a mess of the paperwork,
sighed Cornelius. But we were laughing so hard it was infectious, and soon even he was joining in. So there I was, months on after all my adventures, adjusting to a new life that much quieter and far more to my Humrasianart taste. The IPO still met regularly, but with less urgency than before. Nobody seemed interested in involving us in petty rivalries or trade disputes anymore, and I had no need to take hard action and prove myself to anyone. Suddenly most of the disputes that arose between planets didn't seem very big anymore, and most people were only too glad to leave final compromise decisions to me. As Decreeta, for instance, became its own independent world run by shoppers and renamed Instacarters. The hive had proved to be extremely valuable and welcomed the change of building a library and a museum for us ridiculously quickly. It was a lovely building. There were wings containing objects and books and records and films from every world, and a hall in the middle that combined them all with a mixture of all 10 cultures across the walls, so that even those of us not up to travelling would get to absorb themselves in the life of another planet. The Agrosians, eager to show their worth to our side of the universe, had been enormously helpful and had erected everything we needed in a very short space of time, at least by the standards of our side of the universe. There was a troubling incident when one of them accidentally speared a bunch of precious Camalosian documents, and another accidentally set themselves on fire with some of Grumpus artefacts. But I was becoming a dab hand at diplomacy now, and managed to smooth both incidents over. In time, I even hoped to add an Agrosian extension to the museum, to prove that our 11th known populated planet had a role in the universe too. But for now, it seemed better politically not to. Our new structures both proved to be a huge success and quickly drew in such income that we were able to reimburse it to the poorer planets, setting up funds for the humans, Mrasianarts and Glabdahardits who weren't as rich as the rest of the universe. But none of us were entirely equal during my presidency. At least the worst of us wasn't quite as worse off as they had been, and I managed to fulfil my election pledge of making the universe a fairer place for all. The IPO staff were quickly outnumbered by a stream of visitors that started off a trickle but grew as word got around, and the museum and library building soon became my favourite part of the planet, a true home from home. They say that you can tell more about a person from looking at their collection than any other way. That's true of us as a species too, and even more so of us as a collective. Here in these shells lay everything that had ever been written by or about any of us, all here nestled together and sharing shelf spaces as former enemies and allies competed for the same bit of shelving. Earth music from the 1960s, Mrasian philosophy from the century before I was born, giant catalogues of recipes from Dusius, legal contracts from Camelosia, reproductions of cave art from Zigguris Free, joke books from Habridas, technical manuals from Mechion 5, under-desk exercises from Glab the Hardest, a collection of insults from the Grumphus, autobiographies from Helisphere. All 10 editions of Endurance and Insurgence were here too, of course. I really must get round to reading them in their new translations one day and see if they're both as mad and as wonky as people said they were. Especially the Earth editions, apparently. Not to mention the audiobook version. Boy, that was weird. One day I was rummaging through the shelves, as I often did during my time off, overseeing the latest stock that had been donated to us from the latest shuttle deliveries, when I heard a familiar voice. Eleron? I looked round in surprise. Geraldine, I said. I didn't know there was a shuttle from Earth due yet. What a lovely surprise. It's been so long. How are you? I'm fine. Marvelling at her surroundings, my companion said. They said I would find you here. Everywhere looks so different to the last time I saw it. Absolutely, I infused. It's so good to be building something up at last that will hopefully live on for generations. It beats having to react to other people and make split-second decisions. That was never really my thing. So I see, she said. How are you, I asked, and everyone back home? Slightly in awe of me, to be honest, Geraldine giggled. They can't quite believe I work with the real President Eleron. Everyone keeps asking me if you're as big in real life as you seem on screen, and then I tell them how tiny you really are. I pulled a mock face at her. It's not just the surroundings that have changed, though. So have you. You seem much lighter all round. Yes, I am, I said, beaming. Working with a laid-back Habridat who only lives in the moment and doesn't fret about tomorrow or yesterday is rubbing off on me at last. It's taken a while to adjust to being a celebrity and everyone wanting to ask my advice, not to mention my job of really running the universe. But I'm getting there. Sometimes I still find myself missing the person I used to be, hopeful and innocent when I trusted everyone, did everything to please them. But just as the universe seems to be at peace with itself at last, so I am at peace with myself now. In fact, life has never been better. All that pressure on my shoulders has gone. I now know that I am capable of anything, so nothing scares me anymore. Geraldine snorted. Well, let's put that to the test. Have you heard there's been a petition on Earth by some boozy idiot called Faisal Mirage to start a new political party to pull out of the IPO? No, I said. Why do those stupid apes never learn? My universal beat told me. Oops, I said. Horace has added an insult filter. Said it will help me from accidentally insulting someone. No offence. Geraldine laughed. Well, you saved us. I guess we can't be too mad at you for what you called us. I really don't think they're in much danger of winning though, so don't worry, at least for a generation or so. Will the universe be all right now, do you think? I shrugged, a habit I had picked up from Horace, and wished I hadn't. I think so, maybe. The Agrosian hives really seem to be settling nicely, and so is Calixta, in fact. She's been a completely different person since our big showdown. She's fascinating. I've so loved having a whole civilization to learn about, and we're slowly updating the universe with details about Agrosia. Did you know gold is really common there after centuries of plundering other worlds, but they've never heard of gluten? That was a resource they were going to plunder from us. They could have had one of our food replicator machines if they'd only asked. Weird. You don't think there will be another uprising at all? Not from there for the moment, no, I'm sure of it. Whether there will be another uprising from somewhere else, I couldn't tell you. It's probably inevitable, sadly. I'm sure something will come along to rattle us head first into change before we fully embrace peace, but you can never really see it coming. So for now, I'm just going to enjoy the fact that the planets aren't at each other's throats half the time, and enjoy it. That sounds good, grinned Geraldine. How is Auntie C? I smiled, very happy. She's travelling the universe with Balthazar now. They seem very in love. They give lectures on every planet they land on and keep sending me pictures of themselves at the Endurance and Insurgence fountains. They say they want to travel the universe all over again when we have the fountain statues completed for this adventure. We might even end up being the first beings from this side of the universe to travel over to Agrosia, which has officially become a democracy now. Well, sort of. The decision of who to rule was decided by the Agrosian who had the loudest voice, but I guess that's kind of like how we do our politics anyway. Geraldine smiled. Until you came along, perhaps. How is Dayglow? She asked. Happy too, I think. Certainly safe. She's living with Mercilesbrat now. He seems nice. She says he's far less emotional and annoying than me, which I can well believe, so I'm happy for her. She was joking, I think. I asked her to become my peace envoy, which I guess is a bit like your foreign diplomats, and do a lot of the jobs I don't want to do, like travel around the universe meeting with delegates from other planets. Egglo gets invited to all sorts of lunches and parties, which is what she was missing on Mars and Decreeta. It works for the most part, as she's really popular when she visits, and quite a celebrity telling us stories of what really happened at the IPO. She has caused a couple of diplomatic incidents, though, such as throwing a cake at that poor Dusius dignitary you and I encountered, which is quite an offence on Dusius. I think Egglo had to do Dusius community service washing up, but apart from that, she's happy. Oh, she says she misses my record collection, so I sent her the Spice Girls CD back to her, so at least she has that to play at least. I pause and think worriedly to myself. Maybe that was a bad idea. I hope it won't start another war. So you're, asked Geraldine, not quite getting the words out. Alone, I said. And lonely. Work doesn't tend to leave much time for seeing anyone outside Decreeta. That's kind of alright too, though. After so many years of being needed so badly, it's rather good only having to think of me for a change. You? The same, said Geraldine sadly. I was never going to hang around a one-dimensional boyfriend who didn't know how to treat me properly after having seen the whole of the universe. I still see those stars sometimes when I close my eyes, the ones flecked with hope. Me too, I smile. I keep being afraid that I will wake up and all this will be over, and I'll still be battling brewing Brexit. Geraldine took a few deep breaths before speaking. How would you feel about being a little less alone for a while, she asked, so we can maybe see those stars at night together? Can you get that much time away from home, I said, counteracting with a question of my own. I'm really here on a mission from home to sound you out about me being the new Earth delegate at the IPO. I didn't want to ask you through official channels in case you turn them down publicly, but Earth are keen to put as much into place as possible before the petition kicks in. Not that I'm quite ready to start work yet. I'm here for a holiday, really. That would be wonderful, I said. For political reasons? Asked Geraldine shyly. No, well, those too, but I've really missed you, Geraldine. I would love to look at those stars with you. She smiled at me shyly. It looks as if we will have lots of time to study them together, and maybe visit a few of them again too. She nestles in my wings. That would be perfect, I said, as a final piece of my future happiness slipped into place. Oh yes, said Geraldine, I nearly forgot. I heard you were building a museum, so I brought you a present. She handed me a battered cassette. It's from Earth. I thought you might like it for the museum, or for your collection. I noticed you didn't have it on Mars. It's my favourite album. Oh, I said, as long as it's not more Spice Girls, perfect. What is it? The King's Preservation Acts 1 and 2, all about two crooked politicians fighting each other for power, or knocking people's houses down. One of them gets brainwashed into becoming a robot at the end, while the everyman tramp figure is the only person who knows what's going on, and he's too insignificant for anyone to listen to him. Perfect, I laugh. Do they have any benevolent aliens trying to deliver us peace too? That's on the other side, Geraldine said, matching my laughter. It's Chosen People, a later concept album by their guitarist, Dave Davis. We think he was visited by an early version of the Clandestrots, who asked him to tell their true story. Even better, I say. That's a most brilliant present, thank you. Now let me show you something in return. Here's a Mrasianart recreation of the Earth album by The Who named Quadrophenia. I know you'll love. It's all about split personalities, which went down really well on Helisphere. They even recreated the mods sitting on scooters, only they're all huge Belobrats. It's hilarious. Come on, we have so much to catch up on, and there's so much I want to show you. For once I think the universe is doing well enough to look after itself, and Horace is still on at me to take a holiday. Where do you want to go? Anywhere, smiled Geraldine. Everywhere. And so, that was exactly what we did.
Greetings, humanoid unit.
I would like to tell you about the next volume in the Kindred Spirit series called Ensconce. It is the most epic book in the series so far and features a human travelling from Earth after becoming orphaned to a planet that's strangely enough called Orphelius, along with 10 other aliens. There is also a psychopathic teacher with antlers, a very shifty Clandus rod, and a mysterious three-headed master. But what is the connection between them and the red weed that seems to be everywhere, giving people special strength? Who will win at the International Space Olympics? And what will happen at the Cop-Out Conference when all the intergalactic leaders get together? Make sure you listen to the next inciting installment. As for me, it made my emotional chip explode. Oh dear. Will somebody come and turn me off and on again, please? I think I'm stuck. Help! Help! Help!